Have you ever felt like something's stuck inside, but you can't quite put your finger on what it is? Like things are taking up your space, your head, your time, and you don't even know why anymore. There comes a point when everything feels like too much, even when you can't point the finger at the culprit. Sometimes it's not visible clutter, it's a pressure that builds up, a demand. An invisible list of everything you should be, have, do, and then you start to wonder, where did I get lost in all of this? Maybe what's bothering you isn't the amount of stuff in the closet, but what that stuff says about you. Maybe the tiredness you feel comes less from the tasks and more from the weight of maintaining a life that no longer aligns with who you are. And you know what's worse? We normalize it. We push through, we settle for the excess as if there's no choice, but there is. There is a choice, not a ready-made formula, not a rigid rule. It's more like a silent invitation, a kind of quiet courage. That's where Japanese minimalism comes in, but not as a decorative style from a magazine, not as a white, lifeless room. None of that. It comes in as a chance to start letting go, to open up, to clear out what has become meaninglessly heavy. And just between us, it's not simple, it's not fast, it's not automatic, and it doesn't have to be. What matters is that you start to notice, because it's not just about getting things out of the way, it's about looking with more truth at everything around you. It's about accepting that maybe you're holding on too much, and what's worse, holding on to what no longer serves you, what's already past, what never belonged to you. It's not just your house that's full, your mind is too, full of ideas that you don't even know if they're yours, of patterns that you follow automatically, of decisions that you've never questioned. Have you ever stopped to think about how much stuff you keep without realizing it? Not just objects, but feelings, demands, even memories that only hurt you. Then you keep carrying it all, thinking you need all of this to be someone. But what if it's the opposite? Japanese minimalism isn't about having little for the sake of having little. It's about having what makes sense, about leaving space, about silencing what gets in the way so you can hear what's real. And believe me, there's a lot of noise in there. It's just that you've gotten used to living with noise, with urgency, with haste, with everything at once. And that's tiring. It sucks your energy to the point where you no longer know what it's like to live in peace. Have you ever noticed how external disorder throws you off balance inside? How a pile of papers or a cluttered closet has the power to take away your concentration, your focus, your calm. It's not a coincidence. The mess outside reflects the mess inside. It's a mirror. And when you start to let it go, something changes. It changes inside and out. It changes in your eyes. It changes in the way you breathe. But that requires something that few people have the courage to face. Emptiness. Because when you let go, there's space left over. And space is scary. We're so addicted to filling that we don't know what to do with the silence. But it's precisely in that space that you find yourself. That you understand what's essential to you. Not to someone else, not to the world, to you. And that, my friend, is freedom. And it's also uncomfortable, because it requires choices. And look, it's no use coming with technique if you don't have truth. It's no use wanting to follow rules if you don't have the courage to face what's holding you back. The practice of detachment in Japanese minimalism is emotional. It's intimate. It's delicate. It's about taking off the armor. It's about recognizing that you don't need to keep everything just because it was once important. Some things cease to be. And that's okay. You need space to be who you are now. Not who you were, not who they expect you to be, but who you are, really, today. And there's no ready-made answer for that. But there is a path that involves opening a drawer, emptying a shelf, taking a deep breath and asking, why am I still keeping this? And yes, there's research that shows the impact of this on your mental health. But more than numbers, there's feeling, there's lightness, there's rest. And it all starts with a simple question. What still makes sense to keep? It doesn't have to be radical. Start small. One object, one shelf, one habit. Observe how you feel when you let go. Notice the relief that comes when you say, this has already given what it had to give. It's liberating, it's real, and it's possible. Because what you're looking for may not be a perfect house, but a place where you feel whole. This is the kind of minimalism that transforms. That doesn't demand you have less, but invites you to have only what matters. That doesn't suffocate you with rules, but guides you with intention. That doesn't demand silence, but teaches you to listen. You don't need another to-do list. You need clarity, direction, connection with what really matters. And it all starts in the space between things, in the pause, in the no, in the enough, in the end of purposeless accumulation. Because what you lack may not be time or energy or motivation. Maybe what you lack is less. You're there, breathing on autopilot, trying to keep everything in order and at the same time feeling like nothing is in its place. You want calm, but you wake up with a racing mind. You want lightness, but you carry weight even when you don't need to. You want silence, but you live immersed in noise, of things, of ideas, of promises, of demands. And perhaps what confuses you the most is this constant feeling that something is still missing. Always one more piece, one more course, one more goal. But deep down, what's really missing is space. Only no one taught you how to create space. They taught you to accumulate, to keep, to maintain. They made you believe that everything that arrives needs to stay, that letting go is a waste, that throwing away is a sin, that the time of things doesn't pass, but it passes. Everything has a cycle. Only you hold on, you repeat. You maintain habits that have already expired, and what's left is this silent accumulation, this noise that you don't know where it comes from, but you feel all the time. A vague but constant discomfort, a nameless malaise, and when you start to look carefully, you realize that it's not just external. Japanese minimalism isn't going to give you a set of rules, nor will it tell you what you should or shouldn't have. It's going to provoke you. It's going to make you wonder what really matters. It's going to put a mirror in front of you, a mirror that doesn't just show your appearance, but the choices you've made without even realizing it. And that's what's bothering you. It's not the idea of having less. It's the idea of facing what you've kept for fear of letting go. Have you ever stopped to think about how much of your life has been shaped by fear? Fear of needing it later, fear of forgetting, fear of regretting, fear of not being enough. But fear has never brought you peace. It's only made you hold on even more. And Japanese minimalism, as simple as it seems, stirs precisely there, at the point where you hold on because you think you need to, but you don't need to. You just haven't given yourself time to see that. And when you start to let go, something in you gets scared, because the emptiness appears, and emptiness is a place where you hear what you previously ignored. You hear the thoughts you pushed away with commitments. You hear the longing you hid with distractions. You hear the truth you stifled with objects. And then everything changes, because you can't go on autopilot anymore. You can't go on living accumulating when what you want is to breathe lightly. It's at this point that you begin to understand that detachment isn't about denying, but about freeing yourself. It's not about being cold, but about being honest. And that honesty requires confrontation with your habits, with your routine, with the corners of the house that you avoid looking at, with the memories that you keep as relics but that only paralyze you. Because keeping isn't the same as honoring. Sometimes honoring is letting go, and letting go is also allowing yourself to be someone else, because what you keep defines the space you have to change. And maybe that's why you feel trapped, not because there's no way out, but because you've filled the possible paths with what's already passed. And yes, it hurts, but it hurts more to stay. It hurts more to pretend that everything is okay. It hurts more to continue with a life that sucks you instead of nurturing you. You want balance, but you try to find balance in a disorganized space, in a crowded calendar, in a routine that doesn't respect your time. How is that going to work? It won't. You need a break, you need clarity, and clarity isn't born in the middle of excess. Clarity is born in silence, in the interval, in the absence, and that's what the concept of from Japanese minimalism brings, this understanding that the space between things is more valuable than their volume. Space allows you to see, it allows you to feel, it allows you to choose again, but for that you need to take away, you need to let go. You need to admit that keeping everything close is what has kept you away from yourself. It's contradictory, but it's real. Attachment blinds. The need to hold on to everything all the time prevents you from realizing what no longer serves you. And then you live accumulating junk that isn't physical but emotional. And life gets stuck. You need a clean place. But not just clean of dust. Clean of noise. Clean of distractions. Clean of obligations that you carry without knowing why. You need a corner that allows you to go back inside. And that corner isn't a new room. It's not a new decoration. It's a way of looking at what you already have and asking, does this still make sense to me? You think you're tired because you've worked too much, but it's not just that. You're tired because you live in the effort of sustaining what no longer makes sense. You want to breathe. But the air that comes in doesn't circulate, because there's no space, neither inside nor outside. And without space, everything weighs more. Even what was light begins to bother you, and you gradually lose yourself. Japanese minimalism is a call. It's not a trend. It's not aesthetics. It's an internal decision to stop accepting excess as the norm. It's a way of living with less noise, more intention, more presence. But that requires real presence. Not the distracted presence that only survives, but the one that feels, the one that notices, the one that observes its own rhythm. And you have that rhythm, but maybe you've disconnected from it. You don't need a manual. You need listening. You need time. You need courage to open a drawer and recognize what has been stored there for years. And not just the living room drawer, the memory drawer, the drawer of unfulfilled promises, of the dreams you forgot to nurture, of the version of you that was left behind and that maybe you're still trying to keep alive by force, without realizing that she's no longer you. You want lightness. So why do you keep pushing? Why do you keep insisting on routines that don't make you feel good? Why do you repeat cycles that only take you away from who you are? All of this has a root, and it's in the accumulation of things, of commitments, of identities that you adopted just to fit in, but that no longer serve you. You feel it. You know it. And when you start to open space, another thing emerges: intuition. That voice that you stifled for so long, it comes back, and it knows what needs to stay. It knows what can already go, but you need to hear it. You need to trust it, and that only happens when you slow down, when you stop trying to fill the time all the time, when you realize that there's more life in silence than in rushing. The silence of Japanese minimalism isn't absence. It's deep presence. It's space for the real, for what touches you, for what makes you feel good. And to get to that point, you're going to have to unlearn. You're going to have to question everything they taught you about success, about achievement, about what it is to have a full life. Because maybe a full life isn't a life that's full. Maybe it's a life in which what you have makes sense, and that alone changes everything. So ask yourself with more truth, why are you still holding on to what should have already gone? Why do you insist on carrying what no longer fits? The answer may be uncomfortable, but it can also be liberating. And when you take the first step, even if it's small, even if it's imperfect, you're going to start to feel. You're going to feel that the weight decreases. You're going to realize that time stretches. You're going to see that life, finally, begins to breathe with you. And maybe for the first time in a long time, you'll feel light. Not because you took everything away, but because you only kept what makes you feel good. And that, deep down, is all you were looking for. You've come this far carrying a lot, really carrying. On your back, in your mind, in the corners of the house, in the silences that were never really silent. And now, maybe for the first time in a long time, you realize that the weight you felt wasn't just about what you lacked. It was about what there was too much of. It was about what never went away because you never had the courage to let go. But now it's different, because now you're looking, you're feeling, you're understanding that you don't need to hold on anymore. There's no one rushing you. But there's a silent urgency inside that doesn't come from outside, it comes from you. An urgency to stop dragging yourself through a life that doesn't breathe you. An urgency to open space, to listen to yourself again. And you can't pretend you don't notice. Because once you see, you can't unsee. Once you feel the relief of a clean space, you can't accept accumulation as routine. You begin to notice how the excess of things pushes you away from what really matters, how you spend more time managing junk than living, how your energy disappears every time you need to face what you've accumulated. And then you understand, keeping everything costs a lot. It costs your time, it costs your clarity, it costs your peace, and that price is too high. Japanese minimalism didn't come to teach you to live with little. It came to remind you to live with intention, to be present in your choices, to not accept what comes just because it came, to ask before saving, to reflect before saying yes, and especially to have the courage to say no. No to everything that takes you away from yourself, because you know exactly what needs to go. You're just trying to negotiate with what no longer fits. And that's the point. You don't need to convince anyone. You just need to be honest with yourself. If what you keep today no longer speaks to your life, it doesn't deserve space. You can choose. You can take away what's already passed. You can leave it empty. You can breathe. You can slow down. You can stop asking permission to listen to yourself, but it's going to hurt a little. Because there's memory in the middle, there's attachment, there are pieces of you mixed in with things, there's history, but you don't need the thing to remember the story. The memory isn't in the object, it's in you, and keeping the object won't give you back what's already past. It will only take up more space. It will only trap you a little more. You want to live with more lightness, but you're still surrounded by weight. You crave calm, but you're constantly rushing. You desire silence, but you fill every second. And then you get frustrated, you think you're doing something wrong. But it's not a mistake, it's excess. Excess that hides what you need to see. And seeing it hurts, but it also liberates. Life doesn't have to be full to be good. It has to be yours. It needs to make sense to you, even if no one else understands, even if no one else joins you. Because what suffocates you isn't loneliness, it's the lack of connection with what you truly feel. And excess steals that from you. It silences your intuition and erases your signals. You're tired of spinning in the same spot. And the worst part is you know it, you've already realized it, you've already felt it. And now you have to decide. Will you keep pretending you don't see it? Or will you start letting go? Will you keep holding on to what's holding you back? Or will you make space to find yourself again because no one else will do it for you? And no one knows better than you what needs to go. There's stuff there that's already expired, but you insist on keeping it. There are habits that only hold you back. There are objects that take up space, but don't fill you up. And the hardest part isn't letting go. The hardest part is admitting that you hid behind all of it. That you stayed there, faded, in the middle of a life full of things and empty of meaning. But now you can't anymore. Now you know. Now you feel it. And there's no more excuse. So make the move. Slowly, if you need to. One corner, one thought, one object, one decision. But do it. Because this weight won't disappear on its own. Because this internal mess can't be solved with just platitudes. Because you don't need more advice, you need space, you need a pause, you need truth. And that only comes when you choose to let go. You've carried too much, you've given in too much, you've hidden too much. Now is the time to stop. To look with clarity, to accept that you don't need so much anymore, that what really matters doesn't take up space, and that what does take up space, if it doesn't serve you, can go. Share this blessed video so that it can touch and help other people like you and me. Don't forget to click the subscribe button if you haven't already. Thank you very much from the bottom of my heart for being part of our faith community. If you would like to support our channel a little more, consider becoming a member of our channel. I leave here 2 more videos so that you can continue your search. Thank you, and God bless everyone. See you later.